Hello everyone and welcome back to our continuing coverage of the Halo 4 Spartan Ops experience. I am Duststorm and I am joined again by HaloFanForLife as we continue our pursuit down the journey of Spartan Ops. And this time we are going to be covering the midway point for Spartan Ops Episode 5, Memento Mori.
How you doing?
I am doing good. We are back hitting the halfway point.
Yay.
It's been a long time coming. Indeed it is. Long time coming. Glad we're finally here. Just means that there's that many more to go for the second half of this season. So, and from the things that we've already seen so far, there's going to be lots of things to talk about.
Oh, yes.
Lots of things to talk about. So, I thought the first 5 episodes were pretty dense. No. Definitely not the case.
They were good, but the second half of the season is just that much better.
Oh my gosh. They did so many things to change it for the better, in my opinion.
Me too.
They really listened to the community really well this time, and they pulled through. But anyways, we're not talking about the second half. No, we're talking about the final bits of the first half of the season, the cliffhanger, so to speak, in the middle of this grand story that we have after the Halo 4 campaign. So, Episode 5 brings in some interesting things about just the whole overall developing storyline of it. We get actually a couple different things happening throughout here that really sets the stage for the second half of this season. So, let's just jump right into the cinematic experience, shall we?
All right.
So, from the last episode that we saw, we had Fireteam Crimson escorting an artifact that Jewel Mdama left behind to Galileo Base, and Fireteam Majestic is on station to pick it up and bring it back to Infinity. While they're there, of course, they get ambushed by Covenant, so Fireteam Majestic is busy fighting off the rest of the Covenant that are there, and what happens is they get cornered in that lift room that we talked about on the last episode. And Spartan Thorne comes up with this interesting idea to hijack a Banshee and take out the rest of the Covenant that way and escort the artifact off of Requeim with one of those.
So he does it against orders.
Yes.
DeMarco clearly tells them to get back there, to where they're at.
I wonder who else recently disobeyed orders. Perhaps another Spartan, more specifically a Spartan 2, maybe? So, yes, a little bit of a foreshadowing there, hopefully. But what we see is Spartan Thorne takes out the rest of the Covenant. Well, not just him, but the rest of the team hops in Banshees and takes out the rest of the Covenant there. And as we see them fly off, we have this camera view of Jewel Mdama and... was it his brother Gek?
Yeah, when they say brother, though, I don't think that it's his, blood brother. I think it's just like his pack brother or whatever you want to call him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we see those two kind of, or Gek is basically yelling or arguing with Jewel that they're getting away with the soul of the Promethean, yes. And there's Jules at this point kind of like, okay, they got it. We showed our purpose of trying to get it to show how important it is. And during this whole, there's a scene that's coming up here in a little bit that kind of almost seems like it was his intent for us to get the artifact in the first place, to get the Promethean soul in the first place.
Exactly. Before we go any further, just real quick, this on a funny note, if you're watching that part of the scene where Jewel and Gek are talking, and they're looking over the map of Complex, look at that one building. It's the biggest building, the hangar building or whatever you want to call it. I swear it looks just like a copy machine.
I didn't look at it that closely, so
yeah.
I honestly can't tell you if it does or doesn't look like a copy machine.
I'm serious. Take a look at the video. When you look at it, you're like, oh my God, somebody probably looked at their copy machine and said, that would make a great building. And they did it because it's funny. On the top, I swear it's like there's a piece of paper hanging out from the top ready to be fed in to be copied. It looks, I swear to God, that's what it looks like. Anyways.
Okay.
Just a goofy little funny note.
I'll, if and when I play it again, I'll try to look out for it next time.
Okay.
Anyways, back to Jewel and Gek. So Jewel's at this point, like we've shown, our efforts in trying to retrieve it. We've shown how it's like something of importance to us. Let them go. Let them take it back to their precious little hideout on Infinity. So we see back on Infinity once the Fireteam Majestic gets there, we have the artifact in this kind of lab examination room. Like whenever you see the sci-fi or the science shows where it's there's windows on it, it's basically if they were working with a contagion or something, you'd have people in there with suits, and it's all walled off with windows and all, like an observation room. So we're in one of those. And there's the artifact that's out there on the table, and Dr. Halsey is basically messing around with it, fiddling with it. And as she starts to, as she starts to poke and prod at it and start scanning it, it goes poof, like Sal said. And then the shell of this thing is basically suspended in air. It's kind of hovering around this central cortex kind of thing. Upon closer inspection of the artifact, Roland makes a comment that it looks familiar. And Dr. Halsey is like, yes, it looks somewhat like a AI matrix. So an AI matrix is basically the thing that is the core of an AI. So Roland's AI matrix is somewhere on Infinity. And it's probably this little chip that's plugged in somewhere. And so for Cortana, the AI matrix is that little crystalline disc that Chief puts in and out of his helmet. So we're basically looking at something that's designed to store an AI personality in it. And at this point, Dr. Halsey has sneaking suspicions of what this may be, and that people in here, or like Lasky and everyone else in the UNSC, probably knew what this was. And in the middle of her saying this, a huge kind of energy wave emanates from it, similar to how we saw the artifact from the first episode kind of emanate out, that whole energy kind of flux thing that flows over everything. And then we start seeing images on all the monitors that are in the room. After a little while, Halsey says, Roland, stop all the monitors.
Before you get further, hold on. Before you get any further, did you notice that it wasn't just energy, though, that the energy actually took a form of a humanoid form?
No, I did not.
That's very key. Definitely be sure to watch that again. In fact, and I hate to make this kind of a reference, but the way that you see this form take shape, it's almost like Jesus on the cross. And again, I hate to put that out there like that, but that's the way that it's kind of out there, with its arms out and, its legs straight down from it. But it's kind of like suspended in that position. But yeah, it's very clear. It's very visible. So, that's something I would definitely recommend going back and taking a look at.
Shoot. That's just something that should be in my guide that I don't have.
Yeah.
I'll mark that down.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. I'll have to go back and watch that. Wow.
Yeah, it's a pretty important scene. It's, and it's what gets you to understand where the correlation of a Promethean soul is, because there it is. You're seeing the essence of that soul.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, on the monitors, after Halsey tells Roland to stop the images, there's these stills of things that happened back on Earth, and the images are actually pretty recent. So this whole thing goes down. Halsey starts to point out that these images are actually memories of humans, and then Spartan Thorne is in the room as well, looking at the monitors, and finds a image that he's kind of familiar with, and he's like, "This is from Earth."
He says,
recently.
"That's New Phoenix. I grew up there."
Right, New Phoenix. And in the background, Captain Lasky and Sarah Palmer throw looks at each other. And of course, Dr. Halsey notices, and she starts accusing them of knowing that the Prometheans were in fact humans. Lasky gets on the defenses, like, the UNSC is known for a while that Prometheans were ancient humans, where Halsey's like, well, clearly this is not ancient. This is from the attack that happened on Earth 6 months ago. How can this be ancient?
Mm-hmm. And Thorne kind of feels a little betrayed, too.
Yes.
He's like, "You knew?"
Mm-hmm.
And then he storms out of the room.
Yeah, so he's not happy. Thorne, and I guess that kind of puts Lasky back in the corner as well. Because he's acting like that he didn't know that it would have been humans from that recent.
Yeah, that could be true, too. He might not have known that. Obviously he knew that, they knew that they were ancient humans from the debriefing of Master Chief, but they might not have known about their ability to pull the recent memories from Earth.
Right.
So it could be true.
Yeah, but still, having that in there, especially for Thorne, it's a lot to take in.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's a very emotional thing for Thorne. I mean, he lost his family and friends, So.
Yep. So he's all emotionally confused now, and Halsey's kind of like, okay, what the heck is going on here? So Lasky, and Spartan Palmer all head back towards the artifact that's in the docking bay. And as we actually see them approach the artifact, we have this second camera angle from what looks like a holographic projection of the area in kind of a sphere. And she pulls out her pad again, and of course there's a message waiting there for her. And it's asking about the Promethean soul, and on there she's talking with this other person about what she found was what he told, or this person told her that they were going to find with this Promethean soul.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, during that whole exchange, Lasky is basically arguing with Halsey, trying to convince her that they had no clue that these Prometheans were based off of humans from very, very recent. And she fires back and calls him a liar right in front of her face, in front of his face. And right after that, the camera angle from before where we saw the hologram pans out a little more, and of course we see Jewel. So it looks like Halsey's been talking with the enemy the whole time.
But she didn't realize it.
No, she did not. And Jewel asks her about the librarian. And, of course, in her curiosity, Dr. Halsey expresses her confusion out loud, the librarian. Of course, that's going to tip off Spartan Palmer and Lasky, so she pulls the tablet away, tosses it to Lasky, and Lasky's had enough at this point and orders Palmer to go lock her away.
Oh, wait, before that, you're missing something very important. Once Halsey has the data pad ripped away from her, she expresses to Palmer, "You rude," and before she can finish her sentence, Palmer pulls out her magnum and says, "You want rude?" and points it right at her head. That's powerful.
I didn't really look into that too much, I guess.
Oh, you got it, man. You're missing so much from this episode. I just loved it. I just loved it because, in fact, a little bit earlier, you missed one of the other things that Palmer said to Halsey. She said, "It's amusing to see that you do not have the answer to everything for once."
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that part.
And, it seems like Palmer just wants to take every opportunity to take pot shots at Halsey, and just really despises her. And I think it stems from Halsey not accepting the Spartan 4s as being true Spartans.
Well, and I think it's the other fact of it. I think the other thing too is that Palmer is more on the side of Oni, and Oni despises Halsey right now.
Well, yeah,
I think that's part of it too.
Yeah, we'll see that.
But yeah, there's that. I forgot about that whole exchange. I mean, yeah, she came out and started to say "you rude what," and then Palmer pulls the gun on her. I didn't really look into that much. I thought that was just kind of a knee-jerk reaction that you would have in most situations.
Mm.
I mean, what do you think? Is it leading to something bigger there?
Well, I just think that it just shows the continual hatred or whatever you want to put in there. Whatever adjective or adverb you want to put in there.
Discomfort, dislike.
Yeah, that Palmer has for Halsey, and because of what looks like some kind of a betrayal or treason or something like that, by her pulling out the weapon there, it's just like it gives her reason to be able to pull the weapon out, and really show Halsey, hey, look, you're really not in charge, So I don't know, maybe I'm reading a little bit more into it, but I just liked the idea of Palmer doing that. Up to this point, I really haven't been too thrilled with the character of Palmer, but that particular instance was one of those few times that I felt a little bit more endeared to her.
Okay, fair enough. To each his own, so to speak. So we see Jewel is the one that's talking with Halsey, and she gets taken away, and immediately following that, Dr. Glassman manages to activate the Librarian AI or something activated to that effect. So, of course, that starts to get all of the elite's attention, yeah. So that's interesting.
Yeah. He got something to work, so that's good, I guess.
Mm-hmm. he's not that dumb-headed after all.
Right.
And lastly, I don't know how much longer after Palmer, Lasky, and Halsey leaving this is, but Thorne ends up coming back to the artifact in the hangar bay and still kind of fighting with the idea that the Prometheans that they've been fighting are actually human souls that they've recently, from the recent event that happened on Earth.
Yeah.
So he's touching the artifact, just kind of like trying to make sense of it all. And the whole kind of staticky thing starts to happen, and he gets teleported down to Requeim, just like Dr. Glassman was. And he's out there now, defenseless, no weapons, no helmet on, and he's surrounded by elites.
And not just any old elites, but sword-wielding, ready to cut them up with elites.
Yeah, so that's not likely to end well for Spartan Thorne. So, yeah, good luck to him.
and that was a good cliffhanger for the video side of the mid-season episode.
Right. They did a really good job with a lot of the cinematics kind of up to this point. And they're really kind of setting the groundwork still here, but we've seen a lot of the story start to develop through the last 3 episodes. And now you have the thing going on with Halsey. Now because she's been talking with Jewel and her treachery. Now you have Thorne has gone missing. Now you have the AI, the Librarian AI that's been activated. So you have all these things kind of cropping up in the storyline now.
Yeah.
So it's going to be really, really interesting going here on out. Chapter 1. I think we're ready for this.
Oh, yeah. Let's get into it.
Spartan Miller. Infinity Science requests Spartan aid investigating anomalies in Requiem-wide portal system. The map is the gate, and your objective, secure the area. So what has happened here is some scientists that were doing some studies on the slipspace portal system on Requiem got scared away from some power fluctuations that were going on and asked for some Spartan help to come in and check it out. So Crimson is deployed, and it doesn't look like there's anything there to start off with. Wait, am I on the right mission?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, they walk up to the tower and nothing's there. Okay. Yeah. I am on the right mission. Sorry.
You
So
are.
they walk up to the tower. They go up to the top, and while it doesn't look like anything's there, it's essentially an ambush because Watchers start to descend from the sky, and you start getting attacked.
Now, before you get too further here, let's go over the cinematic that starts this
The
off.
interaction between
Yeah.
Miller and Roland. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of funny, you know. Like Miller's like, you know, well, I don't know where Commander Palmer is, and Roland's like, well, I'm here. I can handle it.
Yeah, I can do this all by myself.
And then when you do start off, be sure that you grab one of the saws off to the right-hand side. I particularly like that weapon. And a lot of this map ends up becoming closer quarter than you would think. So that's definitely a weapon that you would want to pick up. Then as you get to the top of the tower there, where the gate's at, there's a little bit more interaction between Miller and Roland again, where, you know, Miller, of course, with his bad guys line, you know, where are all the bad guys? And then a Watcher pops out, and then a couple more portals open, and more Watchers come out, and then Roland's like, oh no, Prometheans!
Yeah.
And then Miller's like, is that what I sound like?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I like the exchange. I thought it was funny.
It is kind of interesting to see the dynamic between those two when Palmer's not around. It's almost like Palmer's moderating the discussions between them and keeping them in check. And since she's gone now, and I'm assuming right now the whole Palmer thing is that they're with Dr. Halsey and doing all that craziness. So that's probably
or something else.
Okay, it's not happening unless we see something happen, all right?
I choose to believe it.
We need to have a discussion later. I'm not sure how
with my own.
I'm not sure how Lasky could be standing after so much, but we'll talk about that offline.
All right. Go ahead.
But for the sake of the story, it's probably they're doing the whole evaluation of the interrogation, or they're evaluating the didactic of the Promethean soul. They're doing that whole thing. So with that, Miller's trying to downplay Roland into like, no, just help me out whenever I need help. I don't need you to run the whole thing. I'm perfectly capable of doing this on my own. So there's this. And this will actually go on throughout the rest of the episode, where there's kind of this back and forth between Roland and Miller in terms of like just running the thing and having this repertoire between them just kind of be, I wouldn't say weird, but I don't know what other word to use. Comical?
Yeah.
I guess?
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Okay. So when all the Watchers descend from the sky, Roland does his bills like, oh, Prometheans! And Miller basically talks him down.
Now, here's one thing. When those Watchers come out, if you do it quick enough, and it definitely is possible, though it's harder to do on, Legendary, but it's possible, you can kill all those Watchers before they spawn anything. And it is tough to do, but, if you got a good team of 4 people that, played the mission over, several times, they know where the Watchers go, and you can essentially wipe out those several waves of crawlers and Watchers that show up.
So aren't there like 6 Watchers that initially drop from the sky?
Well, let's see.
I think it's 4 or 6.
Oh, it's definitely at least 6. I think it's a little bit more than that, in fact. I know there's the first one, of course, and then I think it's either 3 to 4 on each side. So I think it's more 6 to 8. There's several, but if you have 4-player co-op, you only need to take out 2 each, and you can stop those whole waves of crawlers from coming out. Now, that's up to you. Personally, crawlers, if you're working on commendations, I would do that. You need those crawlers to get the commendation. But if you're just looking to beat the episode and get through it as fast as you can, maybe you're going to go for personal best time or as a team time, then that's one thing that you want to do is take those Watchers out. Again, it's possible, but it is difficult as you get to the harder levels, especially Legendary.
Right. So after the first wave of Prometheans with the Watchers and the Crawlers, Spartan Miller calls out to the Spartan team, or not the Spartan team, the science team that called in for help. And one Dr. Boyd answers the radio and says that he's been the one that's been leading the effort to study the slipspace portal system. So he gets on the radio and says that some of the equipment that they had there were studying some power fluctuation readings for the slipspace network that they were using, and they needed to get the systems back online and get the data processed so they can retrieve it and finalize their studies. But as it turns out, the Prometheans are also interested in getting those readings out, more or less to destroy them, because they don't want humans to figure out how the subspace portal network is. And I'm guessing that's more the Covenant is making that order for the Prometheans to go destroy all the science equipment.
Possibly, yeah.
So you go activate the two kind of the sensors that are there. And as you start to get over there, you'll actually have Prometheans spawn in and start to shoot at you. So there's knights that spawn. Well, just about everything that spawns, really, in terms of Prometheans. So
again, you can limit the amount of those if you kill those Watchers at the beginning, but otherwise, yeah, you're gonna be facing a few more enemies by the time you get to those computer terminals to turn them on. Then after that, look out.
Yeah, because you are in for a long, long fight. This is more a firefight than the Chapter 5 from the last one, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think
because of how much you have
hand in hand. Whereas the previous one, episode 4, chapter 5, had many waves of Covenant and then a couple of waves of Prometheans. This one's all about the Prometheans, and it's wave after wave after wave. The good thing is, it's in a little bit more of a confined space, so you kind of get a feeling of where they're going to spawn at. As well, you've got 3 UNSC machine gun turrets that are very good to use, even on Legendary. I highly suggest getting on them. And please do yourselves a favor, especially if you're playing as a team. Don't rip the turrets off their mounts. Let them stay on there. They might overheat, but the fact is you're going to have unlimited ammo. And do that for as long as you can. You might get a crawler or a knight that might hit you and knock it off of the mount, and that's fine. Pick it up and then use it until it's done, The other thing is there are several ammo crates around that include rocket launchers, and those rockets will respawn pretty much after every wave. So grab yourself a rocket. There's plenty of them around. I think there's at least 4 of these crates that have rockets in them. So everybody has a chance to get rockets. Now, will everybody have a chance to get more ammo? Maybe not so much. There's 2 that are within the area where you'll be defending. The other 2 are a bit farther off, but at the very least, you'll have them for the first couple of waves.
Right. So if you haven't picked those up from the first time that you walk through that part, then you definitely want to pick them up for this part. Cause it's
before you activate those terminals.
Right.
Yeah.
Because those are going to be a pain.
Oh, yeah. So and there's tons of everything. Sorry to cut you off there real quick. There's all kinds of crawlers, knights, and Watchers, like all over the place.
Yes, they're everywhere. I mean, you told me the numbers before we started recording this, and my jaw dropped a little bit. Needless to say.
We'll get to those numbers, but suffice to say, this mission, above all the other missions in the first 5 episodes, is the one that has the most of nearly every Promethean enemy that you can fight. So if you're looking for commendations, this is the one to go on. But we'll get into that at the end.
Right. So right after you start up the sensors, the Promethean enemies come, you defend yourself against those. About halfway through the fighting, you'll hear Spartan. Well, not quite halfway, but you'll hear Spartan Miller talk to Dr. Boyd, trying to encourage him to get his stuff done quickly, so you don't have to keep on fighting Prometheans over and over and over again. And then Dr. Boyd reports in that he finds something quite alarming, either that the readings that he got were wildly inaccurate, or that they broke some kind of new ground in slipspace mathematics or science, something to that effect. A little while after that, he radios in and just says, well, one of the sensors that we deployed was misconfigured. So much for that.
Yep.
Kind of a little killjoy there.
It's kind of funny, too. He mentions about that, there goes his Nobel. So we know 500 and some years in the future, there's a Nobel Prize still going on. So that's kind of cool.
That is kind of cool. At this point, though, once you hear him say that, it's like, okay, why are we defending these now?
Yeah.
But all the information eventually ends up getting processed. If you're able to... Now, I haven't played it to where I've lost both of the sensors. So
I unfortunately have, because I've gone into Spartan Ops matchmaking by myself and been paired up with 3...
Eggheads?
Yeah. You're being very nice. And yeah, there's only so much I can do, even though, I play a hell of a lot of Spartan Ops and I know what's happening. When you got 3 other people that just, I don't even know what to say. I mean, to call them noobs is even being nice, but, these are the same kind of people that, they rip the turrets off. They, they'll use rockets and then they'll throw it away without getting a resupply of ammo. Like, yeah, unfortunately I've had, I think maybe of all the times I've played it, maybe 2 or 3 times where it's happened where, they've destroyed both of the sensors and then, and you can actually fail. This is one of those rare missions. You can actually fail the mission if that happens. So
you can fail?
Oh, yes.
Wow.
If they both blow up, the mission's over and you failed. So at the
I
very
didn't know
least,
it was possible.
Oh yeah, unfortunately it is possible. So yeah, if you see that one of them is going, is starting to go, and you don't really have a chance of saving that one, but the other one's still up, man, do everything you can to at least protect that one. Otherwise, your mission's going to end. And considering the enemies that you get towards the latter part of the mission, you really do want to finish this mission. And I'll explain that later when we get to it.
All right. So make sure you save at least one of them.
Plus, there's a Chivo for it, right?
There is. So we'll get to that at the very, very end of this chapter. So after Dr. Boyd's able to make his conclusions about everything, he reports that there's a jammer that's nearby that they may be able to use to stop the Prometheans from spawning in with their slipspace network. And that's embedded in the tower. So that room that you normally go to where all the weapons are, it's the room right beneath the lower platform in the dead middle of the tower. That's where the jammer is. So you jetpack up there, run up the ramps to get there, and you go hit the switch. Now, for someone like Sal, who likes to go for commendations, you don't want to hit the switch yet. You want to let the enemies spawn in first.
Yes.
And there's actually 2 that spawn at the very top. You want to cover those a little bit?
The enemies, you mean?
Yeah, the 2 Promethean...
Yeah, well, those are commanders. And the thing is up until this point, not including the second half of the season, there's not been any other mission that's had 2 commanders. In fact, there's only been 2 other missions of the 16, was it 16? No, the 20. Of the 20 prior that have even had 1 commander on it. So this mission, you get 2 commanders on it, and you can actually expand that to 4 if you allow a watcher to live. And I do that frequently. I usually let a couple of watchers live and not kill them, because then once you kill the commanders, the commander knights that is, they'll respawn them. And usually they'll respawn them at least once, maybe twice, depending, how quickly you kill them. So I've been able to get 4 commanders on this level easily. if you play it on an easier setting, then of course that's going to be easier to do. I would not recommend trying to do that in matchmaking if this episode were to come back up again in matchmaking, because people tend to just obliterate everything without thinking about it. But if you're going for commendations, you play it on your own. When you choose a chapter, this is definitely one way that you can play it to get a few more commanders. And then also, now those aren't the last of your enemies. If you wait a little bit and don't hit that button right away, you'll get another wave or two of Prometheans, not commanders, but you'll get more watchers, you'll get more crawlers and a couple of knights as well. So it's another way to kind of boost up the amount of enemies that you can get.
Right. If you're planning to just go through quickly, though, you can run over to the button very quickly, and you can almost get to where it's only that first wave that spawns in. And I think I've actually gotten it to where it's just those knight commanders that are there and no one else.
Very often that's what I get. It's just the commanders and that's it. You don't even get the next wave.
Right. So either take your time with that switch or rush over to it as quickly as possible. You can kind of figure out when the timing of it is, so you can basically be ready when the switch is available to hit, and then hit it immediately after it's prompted for you. And that's the quickest way to get through it if you're speedrunning through it as well.
Right.
So after all that good stuff, the Prometheans are cleared out, but some other strange energy reading pops up, and it kind of throws Miller and Roland off guard, and it's like, well, we thought we took care of it with the jammer.
Yeah, slip space rupture detected.
It's like, did the jammer do what it was supposed to do? It looks like it's working.
Yeah.
And Dr. Boyd radios in saying that they pulled up a slip space portal for Fireteam Crimson to use. It's like, oh, well, that's cool. Now we can control them. That's pretty nifty. And of course, Miller gives Fireteam Crimson the go-ahead to go through the portal. So you're on your way to your next mission.
Mm-hmm. Now, this one I've been wanting to talk about for a while with regards to the numbers of enemies.
Before you get there, let me mention the achievement real quick.
Okay.
So the achievement, before I forget, the achievement on here is no enemy way, or no easy way out. It's for 20 gamer score, and it's to survive the enemy assault during the defense on normal or harder. So that just means getting past where the sensors are survive.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that you have to survive, because you can die.
Yeah, you can die several times.
It just means at least one of those sensors has to make it through.
Essentially, don't fail.
Yeah, and it's easy enough to do.
Right. Okay, now you can go.
Okay, so as I was saying, this mission is by far the best to get when it comes to Prometheans. Let's see, there are 7 categories of Prometheans. You have crawlers, crawler snipers, crawler primes, knights, knight battle wagons, knight commanders, and then watchers. Of the 7 categories, 4 of them are the highest amount that you can get of any of the other missions. 2 of them are the second highest amount that you can get. And so the numbers break down like this. 28 crawlers. Now, there actually are several missions that have more than them, but really not much more. There's only 2 missions that have significantly higher amounts of regular crawlers. But still 28 is a pretty decent number. When you move on to crawler snipers, there's 5 of those at least. Crawler primes, there's 41 at least. Now, and this is the one for crawler primes. This is where you can get the most crawler primes in one mission. For regular knights, it's 14, and that ties for the second highest amount that you can get in mission. And then the next 3 categories, they are all the highest amounts. You've got 22 knight battle wagons, 4 knight commanders, potentially, at least 2. And if you work it the way I was saying, you can get up to 4. And then watchers, it's 33 watchers, or again, it could be more. These numbers, when I mention them, they can adjust a little bit depending on how quickly you kill the enemies, if they spawn more or not. So you might be able to eke out a few more kills here and there. But these are like generally the averages that I'm getting when I play through, whether or not I I allow for more enemies to spawn in or not. So by far, though, this mission, if you're looking to boost up your Forerunner kills, this is the one to play over and over again. I've checked the numbers on how often I've played this mission and how many man hours I've spent, and I've got around 14 hours into this mission alone. And by far, that is the most that I have of any mission to date. I think the next closest one is maybe around 9 hours. So clearly, this is the mission for replayability. I don't know if I would say fun. It is fun because it's like a firefight thing, but it gets hectic. Certainly,
especially on Legendary.
Oh yeah. Oh my goodness, yeah. But if you want to grind out the Forerunner kills, this is the mission to do it in. In fact, not to give anything away, but even in 6, 7, and 8, episodes 6, 7, and 8, there isn't as many of some of these enemies. So this still is the go-to one so far.
Awesome. That would explain why it's so frustrating sometimes when I'm dying over and over and over again by Promethean Knights. Yeah.
I love the episode for that. I mean, it can be a challenge, but you know what? I like the challenge.
It's good every now and then, but it helps to have friends that actually know what they're doing if you're playing co-op.
Oh, yeah. And if you're playing Legendary.
Especially if you're playing Legendary. Actually, I was playing every episode solo Legendary, and the only episode I haven't played solo Legendary is this one.
Ooh.
Out of the first 5.
Nice.
So I'm still planning on doing it. I want to do all the episodes on Legendary, even though you're really not supposed to do it that way. But just to say I can do it.
Right. To be honest with you, I have only tackled a couple of them Legendary by myself. I actually prefer to play with other people.
I do too.
Think it's fun,
Well, it's the way it's meant to be played.
Right. But as far as the grind goes for commendations, I don't even bother with Legendary. You can get the commendations, whether it be easy, normal, heroic, or Legendary. So unless you want that challenge.
I do at least normal, so at least it's somewhat challenging. So, yeah. All right, moving on to Chapter 2. This one is Nothing Can Go Wrong. Infinity Science has begun to understand Requiem's portal system and requested assistance in its testing. This is on the map The Refuge, and your objective? Provide security. I wonder what kind of security.
I think we're about to find out.
I think we are. So we're back in this, the jungle facility, the big dome facility, where it seems like everything goes on. And the science team is held up there. That's where they, I guess, retreated to after they had their run-in with the Prometheans and the strange the strange power fluctuations back at the other place. So all the scientists are here. Once you get there, you get a radio call in. Well, okay, let me back up a little bit. We have AI Roland actually starting the brief for Fireteam Crimson, and he comes on saying, today you're going to help scientists do science stuff. So
that's definitely out of character for an AI.
Yeah, I was about to say that's one of the other things that just, I don't know, AI should be savvy in that kind of thing. I mean, they're full of information. They can pull that up at a whim.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's kind of another one of those little things with AIs. It's like that.
Now,
I wouldn't have seen the AI handling it quite like that. I could see an AI taking a posture in that sense towards science, but the way he delivered it was the thing that is really kind of the kicker for me. Of like, really? Yeah. That's coming from an AI?
Well, you have to think now. Remember, they call the mind of they call a brilliant mind to get the the intelligence for an AI. So you have to then wonder, what was the real person like? Were they a smart ass also, or what? So I'm curious to know where that person came from, who that was.
Yeah, me too. Anywho, Roland continues to brief Crimson as they get into the structure, and Dr. Boyd gets on the radio again and says he'll be up in a minute, but they basically just need some help with defending the scientists as they test out some of the stuff that they're doing. And in the middle of the transmission from him, we hear these screams and screeches over the comms, and of course, the Prometheans are here. Prometheans start to spawn in everywhere. Roland warns you about them popping up in the area, and you're there to shoot them up, get rid of them as quickly as you can. After the first wave of Prometheans, then Spartan Miller comes back to the comms and starts to resume as your team handler while he's been away. So after that, he kind of gets back up to speed. Still can't find Spartan Palmer. Still can't reach her on the radio, so she's still out of the picture right now. And we have Dr. Boyd radioing in again, saying he's been attacked, but he's managed just to get to one of the safe rooms that are there. So he's good for now. But after that transmission, another wave of Prometheans come in. So you get to fight those guys off as well. And there aren't anything really special about these sets of Prometheans. I believe the first one is mostly Watchers, and there's a night or two that spawns in, and then the second wave is mostly Crawlers with another night or two that spawns in. So nothing too special about these Prometheans that you're going to have to fight for these first couple of waves. After that second wave, though, the Prometheans start to go after the scientists, and this is where you have to start defending them as well. So there's 3 of them that you have to work on defending. These are over in the cave side of the structure. So you come in on the jungle side, and then the scientists are on the opposite side in the cave side. So you go over there, help defend the scientists for a little while, and there's 3 of them. It's not like you have to... You don't have to defend all of them in order to succeed, right? Can you lose them all and still...
No.
Oh, so you do fail on this one, too?
Yeah.
Okay. See, I've never failed any of these, so I don't know.
Yeah, this one I haven't failed on, but I have had friends that have failed on it and told me about it. So yeah, if you lose all of them, then you can fail this mission.
All right. This is the side of Spartan Ops I don't know about. Me all dying. Now you're making work for me. I made work for you the last time, and now you're making work for me, where I have to go in and research these things and put them back into my guide.
See, there you go.
I see what you did there, sir.
Uh-huh.
Dang it. Anywho, it's all for the better, right?
Oh, yes.
So after
guide.
Exactly. After you protect the scientists, or at least one of them, I guess.
Yeah, you just need to save one.
Right. Dr. Boyd gets back on the radio and kind of stumbles through how they were trying to figure out a way to stop the Prometheans from coming in, and he believes that one of the scientists did figure out. So there's a computer terminal at the very bottom middle of the atrium where you can hit a switch, and it's supposedly supposed to stop the Prometheans from coming in. Well, when you go to do that, instead of them not coming in at all, they basically flood in.
Yes. Oh, that's a good word, flood.
We don't have any in here. Don't go into
saying.
Don't jump ahead of yourself. But yes, they do flood in. Wink, wink.
Nudge, nudge.
Exactly. But what does happen is this weird kind of orb. We've seen it before in past missions when we've come through here. But the orb that's on top, the very top of the structure there, kind of the bridge, yeah, it actually blossoms open into this big thing, and there's actually energy ball core something in the middle, and basically you're instructed to take it out, and maybe that'll get the Prometheans to stop spawning in like crazy. It's a good note here to probably take it out from a distance, because if you have something like grenades or DMR, it's really easy to just chunk them in there and do as much damage to them, and you're not in the middle of fire with all the Prometheans that are up there, the Crawlers, the Watchers, and then you can strategically back off and take out the Prometheans bit by bit as you need to, instead of being smack dab in the middle of a bunch of crossfire.
Yeah, that's what I do every time. I make sure I stay away. Shoot from a distance.
Exactly. It'll make it a lot easier to take care of the power core, and you won't die nearly as often. After the power core is taken care of, we have Dr. Boyd get on the horn again and starts to complain about the lives of the scientists that got taken out by the Prometheans. But Miller kind of blasts back and is like, "Oh, we did what we could. I mean, what more do you want from us, really?"
Yeah. Real quick about the whole Dr. Boyd thing there. I liked that there was yet another room that was shown to us that hadn't been seen before this mission. So it was nice to know that there was something else already built into this mission. That's the one thing that I really am enjoying about going through these missions. Even though, you're going to the same maps again, typically they give us something else new that we hadn't seen before the previous time that we went on that map. So,
well, technically we don't see that room until the next one.
Okay. Maybe I got ahead of myself then.
Yeah, sorry.
I do that.
It's all right. But when we were on the same map, the next one,
map.
So yeah, there's going to be a little mix up there. So I don't blame you for that.
Yeah.
But yes,
well, they follow back to back, so yeah,
exactly. So it's almost like it kind of mixes in with one another, right?
Yeah.
But Miller's able to talk down Dr. Boyd, and he kind of is like, "Okay, whoa, okay, I get it. Thanks for what you were able to do and all that nice jazz." So he's kind of talked down and eases into a little bit more of a comfortable take with the Spartans. So
I think, now don't quote me on this, but I think that the dialogue is different if you save all the scientists. I think it is.
So I've never played it where I've lost a scientist.
Yeah. Well, it could be maybe that if they don't take any hits at all. I don't know. But I could have sworn that the dialogue was a little different. So that's something maybe I'll play through that again and
it wouldn't surprise me.
Sure.
It wouldn't surprise me if it changed.
Right.
All right. You got enemy numbers for us?
Yeah. This one is also pretty good for getting your Prometheans, for certain ones. It has, of the 7 categories for Prometheans, 3 of them are at the second highest range. There are 52 regular crawlers, so that definitely takes second place for missions for that. Another high number, or reasonably high, is 14 regular knights. That's tied for second place with the mission we played just previous to this. And then there's 25 watchers. So, for those, it's pretty good numbers. Otherwise, I only saw 1 crawler sniper. There are a few crawler primes, but there are certainly other missions that you can get more of those. But it's not bad. If you're looking to get just a little bit of a mix there, playing episode 5, chapter 1, and then chapter 2 back to back, you'll definitely be getting a lot of Promethean kills there. So this way you don't have to keep playing the same one over and over again. So,
and this one's a little bit more open.
True.
Than the last one as well.
Right.
Cool. Moving on to chapter 3. Everything has gone wrong.
Oh, yes.
So we went from nothing can go wrong to everything has gone wrong. Kind of a general tide of war here, right?
Mm-hmm.
The refuge facility is the focus of heavy enemy activity. Additionally, UNSC forces are being deployed to the area. This is on the map, the refuge, again. And your objective, guard the area.
I like how this one starts out, too. It starts out with, the fire team Warbird saying, you can relax, the Marines are here. Now, it's funny that they say that because that's nearly word for word with what I believe it's Palmer says in the very first mission of chapter 1, where she says you can relax, Spartans are here. So it's kind of funny that they make that correlation. Like, I'm sorry, if I'm a Spartan and a Marine tells me I can relax because they're here, I'll be like, no, I think I'm still going to stay on my guard. Thank you.
Well, so there's always been this kind of disparity between Marines, ODSTs, and Spartans.
Yeah.
They all have their own view of, like, they're the best of the group. You have the Marines as, like, they're hard to the bone Marines, no modifications whatsoever. And then you have the ODSTs that are hardened and trained to drop from crazy out of space jumps and do crazy things. The Marines and ODSTs are a little bit more at level with each other, but when it comes from the aspect of the Marines and ODSTs against the Spartans, that's where a lot of this kind of tit for tat comes into play, and you see that a lot throughout the books, and it's interesting to see that play out here in Spartan Ops as well.
Right.
So it's just another little aspect of Halo that it's just a nice nod to just see that kind of thing progressing throughout Spartan Ops and throughout the entirety of the Halo universe.
Yeah, that's why I just wanted to point it out.
Yeah. Well, they also add on that line, you can take your Spartans home.
Right.
And right after that radio transmission, a camo elite comes up and slices one right through the back. It's like, oh yes, the Marines are here. Well, now they're getting attacked. So what do you have to do? You have to stay back and babysit. So you thought you were done with just the Prometheans. Oh, no. Now you pissed off the Covenant. Because you know what else is going on? There's a Covenant cruiser coming over your head as well.
And it's actually cool. It's there. You look up and it's there in the sky. I point that out to players that don't play Spartan Ops often, or they haven't noticed it before. I tell them, look up, and then they're like, oh. Sometimes they get a little too transfixed on it and they die from a grenade or something, because they're like, oh, check out the cruiser, and oh, I'm dead.
Well, to be honest, I didn't even know the top was open until this mission. When they said the cruiser was coming in, and I looked up, it's like, oh, wow, there's a hole in the ceiling. I honestly didn't know it was open space up there. I thought it was an enclosed area until this mission.
And I like to explore. I think I've said that before. I look around a lot.
Right, but how often do you look up?
Well, I'm probably not the norm then when it comes to that, because I do.
Right.
But I've talked with you before off the podcast that, I like to see how things are made. So I look around, and, that goes for missions and campaign and it goes for war games maps. So, like I say, I'm probably out of the norm when it comes to that.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's general psychology of people. It's like if something is above like eye level to someone, it goes unnoticed a lot more often than not.
Sure.
And that's just a kind of psychology thing.
So what are you saying? I got a psychological problem?
No. I'm just saying in general, a lot of people don't look up at that kind of thing. So no, I'm not saying that there's a problem at all. I'm just pointing something out.
I'm just messing with you.
I know. So the Covenant have invaded, of course, and you're brought back in. There's a couple of weapon crates, I believe, at the very beginning, right?
Yeah.
There's a crate of BRs.
I think where you start to, there's one where there's shotguns, I believe, right where you start at.
Yes, I was thinking shotguns as well.
And then certainly there's several weapons caches towards the, I guess I would call it the back end where Dr. Boyd is at, along those different corridors.
Yeah, the back chamber, the rear chamber. Yeah, so I consider the rear part, that chamber, and then you have the jungle side and the cave side.
Right.
So you start off in the cave side, and that's where the crate of BRs and shotguns are, and then you make your way into the atrium again, and that's where all the Covenant are. And you also hear this radio chatter back and forth between Miller and Dalton, and Miller asks Dalton if there's any air support that can be given to assist Crimson, and there's really no way for them to get in there and do anything, because there's the Covenant cruiser overhead and all the air traffic with the Covenant. There's just no assistance that they can provide for you. So, unfortunately, you're stuck with fighting the Covenant all on your own. A little bit into the fighting, you'll hear some radio chatter come over from Fireteam Warbird, and you head on over to where their waypoint pops up, and there's a shield there, and really nothing can be done at that point. I mean, the shield's up, they're cornered. Unfortunately for them, they're going to have to wait, and you have to finish taking out the rest of the Covenant that are currently in the area. Once you are able to take care of those, you head on back over to the shield, and two things happen. So the first thing, I forget which order this is off the top of my head, but I believe what happens first is Spartan Miller will call out to one of the other Spartan teams, Fire Team Shadow, and talk with the leader of Fire Team Shadow, Spartan Carmichael, and he's basically gives him the order to infiltrate the Covenant cruiser that's overhead, overload the engine core, and then get the hell out of Dodge.
Right.
So they take the order and they fly with it, like literally fly with it. And then back on the ground, Roland is able to figure out how to weaken the shield, like hack it with a virus, so to speak, and weakens it to the point where you can shoot it with weapons, hit it with grenades, or just melee it. After you take out the shield, the Marines are like, "Oh, we're safe! Thank you so much." It's like they're thankful now. Before they were all cocky, and they're like, "Oh, thank you so much for saving us." Interesting diorama there, right?
Yeah, well, we're not done yet, though.
No, we're not quite done yet. So there's a few elites there that were the ones that cornered them. Must have been horrible elites if they couldn't kill off the Marines there, right?
Yeah, I think they're waiting for a better prize, which is you. So, by cornering the Marines, that brings you into the fray, and they're looking for a better fight.
Could be, yes. I didn't quite think of it that way, but yeah, that makes sense. So you've saved Warbird Company, but in the meantime, you get, or Miller picks up, or is it Miller that picks it up, or someone else? The radio chatter. I think it's Miller.
Yeah, it would be either Miller or Roland.
Oh, it's Roland. Sorry.
Okay.
Reading through my notes here, but Roland picks up some radio chatter about a special operations unit of elites that are in there called the Silent Blade. Now, what do you think the Silent Blade means?
Obviously, active camo.
Active camo and
energy swords.
The worst combination ever. So there's a whole group of enemy Covenant in there with active camo and swords that you need to take care of. And it's pretty easy to pick them out. Miller gives you the whole tutorial, so if you haven't, for some reason, gone up against Invis Elite, although, well, have you at this point throughout Spartan Ops? I guess you haven't.
Yes. No, you have. On Sniper Alley, there was one. I know for sure one before this. There might have even been two missions where that happened. I know for sure there was at least one, though, because he drops from a drop pod and then pops out. So I know there's at least one.
Okay. On
this mission, no, but missions prior, yes.
All right, because Miller gives the whole tutorial on how to figure out where these elites are. That's why I bring it up.
Yeah. They're really not that hard to figure out, and if you're looking for that little warble or whatever you want to call it, the distortion, from where the active camo is, you can find them pretty easily. And also, there's a little blue dot that's on your radar. So if you see a blue dot moving towards you, that's them.
Well, if you see a blue dot, period, that's them. Because there's not anything else around there that's going to be a blue dot.
Yeah.
So definitely keep an eye on your radar and then look for the glimmer. That's what I tend to do, is figure out what general area they're in, and then you can pick up the shimmer really easily.
Mm-hmm. And grenades certainly help in that. Even, if they just take at least a little bit of blast damage, it'll make their shields shimmer a little bit, just enough for you to be able to see them, then you can shoot them real fast.
Yep. So after you pick off the fire team of elites, or the spec op teams of elites, then you're able to rescue Dr. Boyd.
And this is where that room comes in.
Yes, this is where the room you're able to see where that room is. During your rescue of Dr. Boyd, Fire Team Shadow will report and say they've made it aboard the cruiser. So their operation has begun. They're going to fight their way in, hopefully blow some stuff up, and then get out before everything goes to hell.
Good way to put it.
Yes. Burning fire, falling from the sky, everything. After you rescue Dr. Boyd, immediately after you rescue Dr. Boyd, you'll feel the ground shake, like your controller actually vibrate, and then you'll hear things coming from the sky, and you'll hear Roland's like, "Oh, that's a lot of drop pods."
Yeah.
And then Miller would be like, "Is that what they sound like?" So obviously the Covenant is very, very pissed off at you, and they're not going to take it anymore. There's waves upon waves of Covenant drop pods that come deliver hunters, elites, grunts, jackals, everything. Just about every type of enemy. I'm sure you have the numbers on the classes of elites, but
Yeah.
I would say almost just about every class of Covenant is in here at some point.
No jackals. Wait. Yes, jackals. What am I talking about? Yeah.
I'm about to say, I've seen jackals on here.
Everything's in there.
Okay.
This definitely is a point where I would say, don't go back out into the main area. Stay in the rear area. You've got a couple of UNSC turrets there, and if you again leave them mounted, make sure they stay on. You can take out a lot of the enemies just from there. If it happens to get ripped off, then just use it until it's done. But don't go out in the main area, because by staying in the back area, the enemies have to come through those those hallways, so they get bottlenecked there, and they're a lot easier to pick off that way than if you go to where they're at in the open space. Then you've got them shooting at you from all different directions.
Right. There's also a couple of weapon crates around there as well that you can use to refill on your ammunition. There's a couple of shotguns. I don't remember if there's any big power weapons in those.
I don't think there's power weapons, but I believe there's some, what do you call it? Mid-range weapons.
Right.
But nothing big.
Right. So stay in that back room. Stay in that back room for as long as you can, and then slowly make your way out as you need to. There's going to be a point where you have to go out. You can't really stay back there anymore, and that's going to be after the first wave. After that first wave, you're also going to get a report in from Fireteam Shadow saying that they've been delayed because they've met heavy resistance. And Spartan Miller's like, "Okay, well, hurry up, please. I know you got problems, but the quicker you can get it done, the better."
Yeah. Also, when you go out into that main area, be careful, because there's a whole line of snipers that are up on the bridge, just waiting to pick you off. And if it's on Legendary, yeah, you're going to have a tough time there. It's pretty easy to get shot up there. So as soon as I clear out those enemies that keep coming into the back area, and I know I've got them cleared out, I get close to the entrance, and then I race up one of the sides. I sprint all the way up as far as I can get, because then they're not shooting at you. And then when you come parallel to them, up on the bridge, then you can usually take them out pretty easy. Maybe there's one or two that might turn your direction, and they're a lot easier to kill. Don't try and kill them from down low looking up to the bridge. You're just asking to be sniped.
I've actually done it pretty easily with just using a precision weapon and then taking them out.
Oh.
I mean,
there you go. There's a different way to do it then, I guess.
As long as you kind of like poke in and out, like if immediately after you go out, if that's the first thing you shoot, you're usually okay. It usually takes a little bit of time for them to turn around and target in on you. And there's not too many up there. I know there's, I think, at least 4 of them.
There's more. There's...
So like 4 that are immediately looking at you when you come out. And it's pretty easy to take them out, especially if you have a BR, because they're clustered enough together where you can probably get 2 of them out with one shot.
Yeah, that's possible.
So I've always taken out those first few that are pretty much looking at you at the beginning from down there, and then the other ones, definitely go up the sides and take those out from the sides, kind of flanking them as you go up. One of the other things to note on here is there's other awesome machine gun turrets that are out in the area as well, so utilize those to your advantage, especially if you're playing co-op.
And bear in mind that, believe it or not, the grunts or elites will actually get on those turrets and start shooting you. Which, the first time I saw that, I'm like, what the hell? And there I was getting shot up, and it was an elite on a human turret. I'm like, wait a minute. So of course I learned my lesson from that first time, and made sure to look for that.
Yeah, I've had that happen to me a few times as well.
At first I'm thinking, what is one of my teammates, are they shooting at me? But I'm taking damage here, so that's not a teammate that's doing
Right.
it.
So that's, of course, great news.
Yeah. That's another thing to watch out for.
Yeah. A few waves later, you're going to have a couple of phantoms come in and drop 2 pairs of hunters. So it's a good idea to go around, scavenge for the fuel rods that have been dropped by grunts and elites, already been there and you've disposed of already.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where another time when those turrets can actually come in handy, because they actually get dropped off right by 2 of those turrets that you can use.
Yeah.
So if you're using if you're playing co-op, have one guy kind of distract him and then have the other guy just unload on these hunters.
Definitely.
But watch out, because they will turn around every now and then and start firing at you. So if you need to hop off real quick, make sure you have your finger ready to hop off from the turret.
Mm-hmm. And they're quick about it, too.
Oh, yeah.
On Legendary, they can be deadly accurate and fast.
And when you have multiple of them shooting at you, you're going to be wasted pretty quickly.
Yeah.
When those hunters do get dropped, you're going to have another report come in from Fireteam Shadow and said they've hit the reactor. Everything's about to blow. So they're going to run their way out, and the worst of it is hopefully over. You basically just need to survive the remaining waves, and it's not before long that the cruiser starts to blow up, and you can look up and see the pretty fireworks in the sky.
And don't worry about all the things falling down. You actually won't die from any of the pieces. They become transparent pieces by the time they get to you. So you can go right into the middle of the map. You won't die from it. I promise.
Yeah, it just kind of hangs up there, too, for the rest of the mission. You actually fade out from the chapter ending before you actually see the bulk of the cruiser actually start to fall. You see bits and pieces, but other than that, it's no danger to you.
Right.
Once the cruiser's destroyed, you have Miller calling out to the fire team to make sure that they're okay, that they made it out alive. And, of course, one of the Spartans from the team, one of the other Spartans, his name's Spartan Fry, reports in saying, they're safe, they made it, everything went according to plan. Not 5 seconds after that, when you thought that you were all fine and dandy and you were ready to go home, Roland comes on the radio and reports that he has a distress call that's coming in from Forward Base Magma, who has been under a Covenant attack for some time. Since you're the closest fire team, you get to go help those guys out.
Yay.
Yay, more rescues. All right, give us the enemy numbers.
All right. Well, just really 2 to make note of here. 37 grunts. And then for regular jackals, that's 24. So if you're looking to get your jackal kills up there, then this will be okay. Otherwise, I'll be honest with you, this mission I would probably skip for other ones that have better numbers. It can be crazy difficult towards the end there, especially with those hunters. So, there's other missions that are easier that give you more numbers to go by. Other than that, all the other numbers are fairly low. Like you mentioned, there's a couple of pairs of hunters there, but there's certainly other missions that have more hunters. Going back to episode 3, chapter 4, that has at least 14 hunters. So, this mission, it can be fun, but I didn't play this one through, often. I didn't play it as much.
Cool. Chapter 4.
Now this one, oh yeah.
The Cauldron Base. Forward Base Magma has placed a distress call. Fireteam Crimson is responding. The map is the Cauldron, and your objective, help secure Forward Base. For this one, you're going into a base that's, I don't know why they put the base out in the middle of the bridge, but this is the one where it's the lava flows, Cauldron. We've been on it plenty of times before.
Mm-hmm. 3 times prior.
Right. So you have a total of 4 times being used in Spartan Ops, which is ridiculous. I think this is, well, let's see. So we had 2 towers used 4 times. We had the refuge used 4 times, and we have the Cauldron used 4 times, right?
Yeah. In fact, actually, I just made a breakdown of the different maps that we have and how many times they're used in what chapters. If you go to my blog, HaloFanForLife.com, sorry about the shameless plug, you'll see that breakdown. But give me just a second here, and I can tell you. Okay, so yeah, Cauldron is used 4 times. Let's see, Refuge is 4 times as well, and thankfully. Sniper Alley is used 3 times.
3 times.
Yeah, so all the other ones, other than those ones, all the other ones are used 3 times, with the exception of Galileo, which is only used twice. But at least 3, with Cauldron being 4 and Refuge being 4. But now the way that they're played, though, they are played differently. Certainly the way this one is played versus the other times that we've been on Cauldron base gives you a little bit of a different experience. When you're playing this co-op, depending on how many players you have, at the beginning, you'll either spawn with mantises or with warthogs, one of which is a Gauss cannon hog, or a Gauss hog. It just depends. If you start with 2 people, you'll get mantises. If you start with 3 or 4, then you're going to get the warthogs. So bear that in mind too. Depending on what kind of vehicles you want to play with, that'll dictate how many people you go in with on this mission.
Or it'll just dictate what vehicle you get if you're just going in with a certain group.
Yeah, like I said, if you and one other, you're going to get mantises. If you are going to play this with 3 or 4 people, you're going to get warthogs then.
Yep. So hop into whichever vehicle that you end up with, depending on how many people you have. Make your way down the lava flows. You're going to have a phantom that drops some elites in. You don't have to worry about those. Spartan Miller will actually come radio in saying, don't worry about those. Get to the base first. That's your priority. Get there. And if you have to take them out, take them out. But otherwise, just get there.
Now, I will say, let me interject here, that there is a sword elite here, and I would highly recommend if you're gonna bypass him, at least kill that sword elite, because he has the tendency that once he gets to the base, he starts sorting the generators, and he can take those out quickly no matter what difficulty you're on. So if you're going to target any of them, at least take him out, because otherwise you can fail this mission if you lose both generators.
All right. There's also a line that I want to back up and mention real quick, but Roland actually makes kind of a smart comment about whatever Crimson is doing missions. It seems like most of the time they're protecting Marines or scientists.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, go ahead, say this one. This is good.
Well, I'll have the actual quote in front of me.
Okay.
But that's basically what he's talking about. How every time they're going on a mission, it seems like they're playing babysitter for.
Well, isn't it? He's like, I forget the first part of it. He's like, something, and he's like, well, enough about that. It's just like real quick. Isn't it?
Well, yeah, because Miller basically tells him to get off the line and stop messing up the op, and then Roland's like, okay, got it. And that's when Miller cuts in and says, okay, you need to go. Focus is on the base. I don't have the quote in front of me, though. Sorry.
That's all right. And real quick, too, before you actually get to the base, if you choose not to kill those enemies, that's fine. You were saying, you can go right to the base and you can bypass those enemies. If, however, you do kill all of those Covenant from the Phantom, as well as all those ones in the caves before you get to the base, then you'll get alternate dialogue where Miller gets on there and says, hey, and he sounds a little agitated. He's like, hey, it's nice you want to kill all the Covenant, but we need you to get to the base, or something to that effect. So
yeah,
it's kind of funny, So, it really depends on how you want to play it. Luckily, there's, a little bit of options there. You can bypass them, you can kill them, you can kill part of them, whichever. And you'll get some alternatives within the game, within the mission.
Yeah, it doesn't affect the outcome of the mission, but yeah, you do get that extra line of dialogue whenever you kill all the Covenant. And I have heard that before.
Yeah, so that's why I try and point it out, because I'd like for people to try it out and see, at least hear all these other little things. Because if you just bypassed all those enemies, you'd never hear that extra dialogue. And, it's nice to have some little hidden gems in there.
Mm-hmm. Once you make it to the base, you are greeted by a few Covenant that are currently there, but you also have a group of Marines that are sitting there as well. So you take out the few Covenant that are there, and you are informed by one of the Marines in control there, Corporal Stephen McCord, that the Covenant are trying to take out the power generators, and that's what you're there to defend. And these are the things that if you lose them, then you fail the mission.
Right.
There's a couple of options that you can take when you're doing this part, and you kind of actually broke these down, so I don't know if you want to talk about them.
Sure.
Between using vehicles, standing up the turrets, or whatnot.
Right. Okay. Well, there's definitely a few different things that you can do here, and it's going to depend on what you want to do for your objective in the mission. If you're just trying to get through the mission, then by all means activate the turrets, and I would recommend then using whatever your power vehicles are. If you've got mantises or if you've got the Gosshog. Luckily, also bear in mind that when a Gosshog or a mantis or any of them would blow up, that they immediately, at least the hogs, the mantises too, they do respawn. So it's not like you're going to ever lose them permanently. So if you die, just go back and get them again. You don't have to go all the way back to the start. The vehicles are actually towards the back of this area where there's this big lava area. But they're behind the generators. So you can go pick up another vehicle.
Oh, it's on the shelf, right?
Yeah. Now, there's a couple other ways you can play this, though, where if you're working on commendations for kills, you do not need to activate the turrets. By activating the turrets, they're going to take out enemies that otherwise you would be able to get. Also, take out the Marines. Normally, I wouldn't say to do that, but they'll kill enemies too. So there's only 2 or 3 in that area. So I would say to, go ahead and take them out too so that you get more enemies. Now, another option, and this is one that is a friend of mine pointed this out to me. His name's RM Blue Thunder. This is a great mission when, if you're playing it not on Legendary, but like easy or heroic, that you can get your backstab commendation done. If you're playing this on the lower difficulties, when all the enemies come in, they're actually going to be so focused on trying to take out the power generators that they'll actually ignore you, especially if you hide. Even if they look right at you, though, most of the time they'll look at you and then they'll turn towards the power generators and start shooting them. Well, that's great for you because then you can just go right behind them and assassinate them. And I'm telling you, no joke, you can get easily 40 to 50, upwards of 60 assassinations in one game by yourself on this mission. Easily. I've done it. In fact, I was able to get that backstab commendation done within an hour and a half just by doing this mission, I think 4 or 5 times and get them over and over like that. So, that's just another way that you can play this mission. Again, now if you do that, if you're going for the backstab, don't use vehicles, kill the Marines, and do not activate the turrets so that it's only you that's getting the kills. You expect to get maybe a few beatdowns instead of assassinations because, if you don't time it perfectly, you're not going to get them. But otherwise, they're really easy to get. So there's plenty of different ways to play this mission and plenty of different personal objectives for your Spartan career that you can go for here.
All right. If you were doing this normally, like if you're doing this kind of storyline mode, you would get there, hop out your vehicles, put up the turrets, and then kill everything.
That's the intended way, I would imagine.
Yeah, that's kind of more of what I consider the canonical way.
Right.
After you take out all of the Covenant that are in there, you successfully defend the generators. Let's see, I believe Roland will radio in saying that he's found Thorne's IFF tag.
Right.
So if you recall, during the CGI cutscene, Spartan Thorne somehow made it to Requeim. So I guess this is after they've discovered that he's gone missing, and after small sweep of the surrounding area, like if they're looking to see if there's any more Covenant coming in, they find that Thorne's IFF tag's there. So you go over, and this is over where the archaeological excavation site is.
Yeah. Not far from where the artifact was at.
Right. So if you remember the cutscene, that's where Thorne came out. So his friend or foe tag probably fell out at some point. So you go pick it up. Obviously, he's not there. But Roland is somehow able to find that there's a set of tracks leading from that place out to out of the area, and they're dated a couple days old. But you're ordered to go follow them and see if you can go find Spartan Thorne.
Real quick before you go further, if you're somebody that likes to use vehicles, all the Phantoms can easily be destroyed, whether you're using the Mantis or the Gosshog. So, again, you'll get credits for those. They don't work for commendations, but, I definitely suggest if you're going in 4-person that you have 2 people take out the foot soldiers and then 2 other people focus on those Phantoms when they come around. And certainly there'll be that one opportunity where the Phantom will drop with a couple of hunters that you'll probably want to use vehicles on those.
You would think with how many Phantoms that you have to destroy in Spartan Ops that they would have made this a commendation.
Yeah, I kind of expected them to. After seeing that, I was like, wow, I'm really surprised that there wasn't a commendation for that.
Yeah.
So, who knows?
It's strange.
It's something for them to think of the next time around, I guess.
I guess, yes. The achievement on this one, because there is one, is called What Power Outage? It's 20 gamer score, and for this one you complete the chapter without losing a single generator on heroic or harder.
And that's not really that difficult to do. It really isn't.
No, especially with the kind of vehicles that you're given.
Right.
All right, give us the numbers.
Oh, well, enemy counts here. This one's all about the grunts. 56 regular grunts, 34 grunt Imperials. After that, there's no jackals on this level. It's just grunts and elites, and then that pair of hunters. But certainly, yeah, if you want to boost up your grunt kills, this is the one to do it in.
Alrighty. And we are on our final chapter of the first half of Spartan Ops season 1.
Wow.
We made it to the halfway point.
Yeah.
Chapter 5 is called Spartan Thorne. Spartan Gabriel Thorne has been transported to Requeim without weapons or comms. His current status is unknown. The map is Quarry. Your objective, find Spartan Thorne, of course. For this one, you are starting off right where you began your Spartan Ops experience, in the Quarry.
Right.
So, what's going to be happening here is you're going to go around to a couple sites and try to find Spartan Thorne. The first one is actually going to be on the hill that's right in front of you. So the funny thing is you start off in the exact same spot that you started your whole Spartan Ops experience. So, dropped off in the same area. And the first place that you're going to check out is that hill. Since Thorne has been taken outside of Infinity's quote-unquote sensor range, all Roland is able to give Miller and you guys is a general area of where Spartan Thorne might be. So I'm not exactly sure how that plays canonically, but I guess we'll just roll with it for now.
Right.
So the first likely place is the hill that's right in front of you. So you can jetpack up, you can walk around if you need to. There are a few weapon crates at the very beginning that you can pick up some weapons to use. I believe one of them maybe a saw?
Yes.
So you can use that, and that'll be really handy just taking out all the ground troops as you kind of progress throughout this mission, especially the first half. It's not as applicable in the second half because of the type of enemies that you're going to be dealing with, but definitely for this first part, it's really, really helpful to have that.
Mm-hmm.
Once you make your way up to the top of the hill, you'll find that he's not there. There's no trace of him. There's some ghosts over to the right-hand side that you'll need to take care of, and I'm not sure why, of all things, they called this out specifically, but Roland or Miller, one of the two, will call out one of the snipers that are running into the area. I'm not exactly sure why that's of huge importance.
Yeah, I never understood that one either.
I've never let him live long enough to really see where he goes, if he goes anywhere special. Did I just give you more homework?
No, because it's the same thing for me. He doesn't seem all that important. I take him out quick, so.
Yeah, I honestly don't. It doesn't seem that important.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, it's a sniper, and you need to watch out for snipers, but
it's only one. It's not like a whole squad of them, so.
Yeah.
I wouldn't spend too much time worrying about what they're talking about there. Just take them out and move on.
Right. So you make your way back down the hill, and there's going to be some phantoms that come and drop enemies in, so take care of those as quickly as you can. Miller will get on the horn again and report that there's a power station nearby in the adjacent canyon, which is kind of the second area that they think Spartan Thorne may be held. Roland will report in that he also notices significantly more Covenant in the area, which also may signify that there's something of high value to them there. Once you head over towards the quarry, I believe there's 2 sniper perches there, and just kind of go around and take them out as you see fit. There will be some ghosts that get dropped off. There's not a couple wraiths there yet, right?
Yeah, actually there is. Yeah.
I think there's just one. I think the multitude of wraiths come in afterwards.
Right.
Yeah, so there's a wraith down there. There's some elites on the walkways over by where the tanks were before. And you're just kind of going through, killing everything that you can find, and a phantom will come and drop off 4 ghosts at the very back, and they're obviously positioned in such a way where they're defending the area.
Mm-hmm.
So
I gotta tell you, that part there is actually a bit tough. Even if you're in a ghost as well, if you're playing this on Legendary, man, those ghosts can just chew you up.
Well, and there's 4 of them.
Right.
And their aim is ridiculously accurate.
Elites that are there too.
Right. And their aim is ridiculously accurate.
Yes.
When they're in the ghosts. So, I mean, good luck to you there. Once you do take them out, though, you'll find a slew of weapon crates. Still no sign of Spartan Thorne, but it's obvious that the Covenant have stockpiled some UNSC gear.
Mm-hmm. So
you want to pick up whatever you want from there. There's sniper rifles, there's rocket launchers, there's
warthogs.
Warthogs, so you name it. You will kind of run around a little bit. There'll be hunters that get dropped, wraiths that get dropped, and just a lot of Covenant heavy firepower. Obviously, you've pissed off the Covenant enough that they don't want you to leave. So after a couple of waves, you're going to get a weapon drop, or Miller's going to call one in for you. And you're going to have an assortment of, I believe it's just Spartan lasers that actually get dropped. And from then on out, you're going to get a few more waves of Covenant, and those are going to be exclusively Wraiths and Hunters, which is kind of why you're given the weapon drop anyways.
Right.
Do you know how many specific waves there are of these? I know there's quite a few.
I can't remember now. That's going to have to be another thing I check then.
So it's quite a few, and the Spartan lasers, there are plenty of them, and I think they'll respawn if you run out. But just make sure you're able to grab those before you go into heavy combat.
Mm-hmm.
Because those will be important. And if you manage to actually jack one of the wraiths,
even better,
early on, just use that wraith to take out these wraiths later. Actually, there's a wraith, I believe, that's just sitting in the quarry that you can go and pick up.
Right.
So after you get back to the weapons cache where the warthogs are, there's actually a wraith. When you come down like the hairpin turns into the quarry, at the edge of like that big wall back there, there's a wraith that's unoccupied that you can go and pick up, and you can use that to help you a lot in this next area.
Which I highly recommend, definitely.
Yeah, I've used it plenty of times as well, and I use it probably more so than the Spartan lasers.
Mm-hmm.
After you survive that onslaught of mass destruction. Make your way back to the rocky hill at the very beginning where you first were looking for a Spartan Thorn. And your Pelican will come to evac you, except instead of actually
Wait,
getting...
you're getting ahead of things.
I am?
Oh, yeah.
What am I missing?
Yeah, well, there's a Pelican, or rather a Phantom.
Phantom?
That comes and drops off a bunch of grunts.
Oh.
In between, like the quarry and that hill.
Oh, yeah.
Am I
Sorry.
thinking of the right one here?
No, I think it's pretty much open.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm thinking of a previous mission then.
That happens in the...
Is that the second time we played through?
Yeah, it's the second time.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. No, it's after you destroy all the wraiths and the hunters, it's clear sailing after that, because I specifically remember sprinting miles until you get to there and then jetpacking up to the top. So no, there's nothing else there.
Okay. See, I'm reading my notes here, and it says there's a mass of suicide grunts after that.
Maybe inside the quarry. I didn't think there... I thought after you get the weapon drop, it's pretty much exclusively wraiths and hunters. Now, okay, so I think there may be a couple of phantoms that actually drop elites and grunts.
Yeah.
But the majority is wraiths and hunters.
Right. So I think what happens is after those, whatever remaining ground forces there are, they start running away. I'm pretty sure there's one more phantom that comes that drops off a ton of grunts, but I could be thinking of a previous mission. I mean, this part here...
Oh, yes, there is. Okay. Yeah. I do remember that.
Yeah, because then there's the chance for you to mow them all down, but they quickly turn into suicide grunts with 2 plasma grenades.
That's right. I need to update my guide for that, too. Thank you for reminding me.
The issue comes in whether you're using a Wraith or a Warthog, you got to watch out because they can EMP you. And if they do that and you're in the midst of them trying to mow them down, all of a sudden they turn into suicide grunts and blam, that's it. You're done.
All right. Okay. Yeah, there is that one last phantom there.
Right. It can be fun, though. Whenever if you're moving fast enough, man, you can get 15, 16, probably upwards of 20 splatters at once, but they do try to jump out of the way. But, but it's pretty funny to be able to mow them down like that.
Yeah. So after you kill those grunts,
you
make your way back up to the top of the hill. Your Pelican comes in to evac you, and instead of getting there, it decides to it gets blown up by Covenant forces that were kind of unseen until now. And then we cut to this whole scene of a lot of Covenant phantoms and air patrol, and you're pretty much screwed.
Yeah. Miller asks Roland, how many? I don't know. All of them?
Yeah. The whole fleet, maybe? So you see actually a couple of Covenant cruisers in the background.
Yeah.
And you have a bunch of
Banshees.
Phantoms that have come to block your escape. They destroyed the Pelican that came in to rescue you. And it fades to black. So no!
And thus ends the mid-season.
And thus ends...
Heck of a good cliffhanger there.
What will happen to Fireteam Crimson? What happens to Spartan Thorn? Will Jewel Umdama get access to the Librarian AI? What happens to Halsey? Who knows? Well, we do kind of know because some of the other episodes have already come out. But for the sake of this podcast, that will remain to be seen. A couple of things to note on this chapter before hitting the stats and wrapping up is the RVB Easter egg is on this chapter. Mm-hmm. So immediately after you spawn, turn around. There's going to be a rock that looks like a shark fin. And then there's going to be another one that's right in front of it. The box to shoot is on top of that rock that's in front of that rock that's further back. And you shoot that one. And when Miller orders in the weapon drop for that would be the Spartan lasers, you actually hear Sergeant Griff talking on the radio about sports equipment. And when the weapons get dropped, Sarge will be like, "Griff, you dropped your cargo." And it's like, and they get into this whole thing. It's like, why would the UNSC be carrying a bunch of sports equipment? And it's gravity hammers.
Yeah. And actually, that's quite fun. Using those hammers against the hunters, that I actually enjoy that more than I do using Spartan lasers.
Oh, against the hunters, definitely. But when you have to go up against the wraiths, that might be a little different story.
Well, yeah, not so much. Yeah, not so much.
Right. All right. Stats, sir, please.
Yeah, this is a good one for regular elites. It's got the second highest amount for regular elites at 27. Obviously, it's got a decent amount of hunters as well. I think I had that number as 8. I might be wrong there, but that's the second highest one for hunters. So I would definitely pursue this level for that. As well, it's got plenty enough ghosts and wraiths to kill. So if you're working on those commendations, I highly recommend this mission for doing those. This is the good thing about Spartan Ops is when it comes to ghosts, wraiths, and banshees, you don't have to play war games to try and get those specific vehicles. You can easily just replay the Spartan Ops missions and max those out. So, I highly recommend this one for hunters, for ghosts and wraiths. And really, this mission overall, I think, is fun to play anyways in and of itself. So, this is pretty high up there for me for replayability.
Sweet. And that concludes the first half of Spartan Ops.
All right.
Minus one little detail. There is an achievement for completing all the first 5 episodes on any difficulty, and that is called Dedicated to Crimson. It's worth 80 gamer score. Now, there's no difficulty associated with this. You could do it on easy, but as long as you finish every chapter of every episode, you will get this achievement.
Very easy to do.
And yeah, incredibly easy to do. All right. That concludes episode 5 and hits the halfway point for our Spartan Ops coverage for season 1. Thank you guys for listening in. We will be bringing you continuing coverage of the Spartan Ops experience with episode 6 next time. Well, actually, we're not sure. We may be doing an intermission episode where we talk about some other little aspects of Spartan Ops. We're still trying to figure out if we're going to do that specifically or not, but the next one you'll hear will either be episode 6 or will be kind of an intermission episode to talk about some of the other little nuances of Spartan Ops and ways to kind of work on commendations, tips that we can give you on using vehicles or going about certain objectives a certain way, all that good stuff. So
the good thing is you shouldn't have to wait 5 weeks between podcasts of episode 5 and episode 6.
That's right. We'll be releasing them as soon as we can get them out. So, all right. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you guys next time.